All right, peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum, shalom, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are live, and today, our program, since today is Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad's birthday, we're doing a program to honor this great brother of ours. He is definitely a brother that once you experience Dr. Khalid, there's nothing like it, nothing like him, period, point blank. So here we go. Family, today we gather in not in mourning, but in militancy. Today we honor a man who refused to bow, refused to bend, and refused to let the enemies of Black people define the borders of our imagination. Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad was not simply a speaker, he was a force of nature, a storm of truth, a surgeon of language, a warrior who understood that liberation is not a slogan, but a science. On this day, his birthday, we do not celebrate a personality. We celebrate a standard, a discipline, a reminder that a free people must be willing to confront the lies with courage, confront power with clarity, and confront ourselves with honesty. Tonight, we honor the man who taught us that the tongue can be a weapon, the mind can be the battlefield, and truth, when spoken without fear, can shake the foundations of an empire. This program is not so much entertainment, it's a continuation, it is a study, it is gratitude, it is preparation. Let us begin. And again, today, Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, today is his day. Doc, what's your first remembrance of Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad?
Wow. My first exposure to him was actually pretty much the same way my first exposure to Brother Malcolm was. And it was with Malcolm, I found a tape. I used to go through my uncle's stuff when they weren't there. They lived on the top floor of my grandmother's house. And I found this tape that said El Hajj. And I took it, and I popped it in, and turns out it was Malcolm X. My initial exposure to Khaled was actually through the classic recording of The Goddamn White Man. And I was like, who is this brother right here? And so, as he would say, what black as the ace of spades sitting up in there with a white suit on. So that was my initial exposure to him. My first time actually meeting this brother was at East High School in Columbus, Ohio. The local minister there, Minister Donnell Muhammad, was having an event, and Khaled was the keynote speaker. So I went, and I'll never forget going there. And there was only one other person standing there in line, and it turns out it was my first master's advisor, Dr. Pierce. She's a New Yorker, and she was expressing to me, she said, I can't believe that people are not lined up to see, and she starts talking about the different vibe of the East Coast versus the Midwest, that people on the East Coast, they would value this, and they would go ahead and be lined up. So it's just us two. And so we went in, and there was Brother Khaled standing right there. And he stood there and he talked to us for probably about 30 minutes. just a casual conversation about Black Revolution, about education, about all of those things. So that was my first meeting with him. The first exposure was the goddamn white man, and the first meeting was at East High School in Columbus, Ohio.
Mm. Wow, that is something. My first seeing him, he had came to Nashville, and at the local mosque there, mosque number 60, and he was teaching on the rostrum, and he was breaking down the meaning of names. And so he did his name, then he was doing the local minister name, and he was like, Muhammad, one worthy of praise, Abdul, the son of, and then the local minister name was Majid, and he said Majid, and he looked to Majid to say, what it mean, and he just sitting there looking up at Khalid, with his hand like this, just looking, and Khalid like, ah, God damn, you don't even know what your name means.
Wow.
Man, that was just unforgettable. My God, we just bust out laughing. And the local minister after that, he was on it. He knew what Majid meant. He knew what all these names. He could roll it down to you. Dr. Khalid definitely was that man that you don't play around. You better be right and tight, and you better be exact and right.
Yeah.
When it came to him and it comes to the information. But yeah, that thing, man, that's just I'll never forget that. Ain't no way. I'll never forget that. We want to welcome Mac 285 to the program. Peace and blessings, Mac.
Oh,
we're glad that you're here with us as we honor a great man, our brother, Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. And also we got Emerald Jewel in the house. Peace and blessings, Queen. We're glad that you're here.
Peace.
And, Dr. Khalid definitely was like a standard. He definitely was a standard. Didn't play around, wasn't one that always laughing and giggling. And, that just wasn't him. He was about the business of the resurrection of our people. This first video that we're going to watch, part of it, we're dealing with him giving a speech at Howard University. And we want to welcome Twin Pyramid. Peace and blessings, Twin. We're glad that you're here.
Peace.
We're going to look at part of this, about 10, 15 minutes of this video. Let me get it ready. All right, let's go.
And we thank that one God for raising up his messenger and his Messiah, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we thank the two of them for the man who is anointed and appointed for this hour of our resurrection and our rise, the champion of the liberation and salvation of the black nation. I speak of none other than the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, in the name of Master Farad Muhammad, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I greet you, my beloved and beautiful black sisters and brothers and others, with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Hotep. Alafia. Free the land. What's up? And black laws for all black people. It is indeed my honor to be a part of history. It is indeed my honor to be a part of us writing history here tonight at Howard University, and to be the guest of Unity Nation headed up by that great student warrior. He's not selling drugs. He's not a young man who can be found in the highways and byways of America, actually involved in crime that the white man has set up for young black men and women to participate in. But he's a freedom fighter. He's a young student that is standing up for the liberation of his people and fighting for his people's resurrection and rise. Unity Nation now catching on all across the nation. Student organizations represented here tonight from Texas, from California, from Georgia, from throughout the Midwest and throughout the Eastern Seaboard. And so to be a part of this evening at this Black Holocaust Memorial, to Brother Malik Zulu Shabazz, our host, to Dr. Tony Martin, Dr. Steve Coakley, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, to the representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in this city of Washington, D.C., Minister Sean Muhammad, to our regional minister, Dr. and Minister Arif Muhammad, a graduate of the Howard University Law School, to that great fighter who has laid a foundation in this area, Minister and Dr. Aleem Muhammad, to Minister Fariz Hadi, representing the Honorable Silas Muhammad. And I don't know if he is present, but our great elder, Dr. Robert Brock, Brother James Cameron, Sheikh Shabazz, Brother Duno, and others who have fought for us in this great struggle. In the Hall of Remembrance of the Jewish Holocaust Memorial, as my young son Farrakhan, who is seated here, give him a black hand, Brother Malik, and Brother Malik Zulu Shabazz and others who were with us as we stood in the Hall of Remembrance of the Holocaust Memorial. Thank you, son. We read the inscription on the wall of the Hall of Remembrance of the Jewish Holocaust Memorial. And let these words be imprinted on our hearts and in our minds here tonight. Only guard yourself and guard your soul carefully, lest you forget the things your eyes saw, and lest these things depart your heart all the days of your life. And you shall make them known to your children and to your children's children. I say the same for what you have heard and seen and will see here tonight. These esteemed scholars who have come before me, they have busted the statistics and dropped the realistics, and now I'm going to kick the ballistics. We set forth here tonight that the Black Holocaust is 100 times worse than the so-called Jew Holocaust. Why do we even need to make a comparison? Because it was the old no-good President Buck-Tooth Jimmy Carter who stepped out and stepped forward when they were beginning to prepare to build the Jewish Holocaust Memorial. It was Jimmy Carter who said that it was the most unspeakable crime in the history of all time. He made a statement of comparison. When we deal with General David Eisenhower, General David Eisenhower made similar statements that we read and we saw on the walls of the Jewish Holocaust Memorial yesterday, making the world to believe that this was the most overpowering crime and atrocity against humankind in the history of all times. Everyone has come and said that it is the worst Holocaust that has ever existed, but all of a sudden when we come out on you, you now back down and claim that you never made a comparison. Well, tonight I'm going to make a comparison. We're going to lay the case out and see which Holocaust is the most dreadful, which Holocaust is the most vicious and bestial Holocaust most bloody Holocaust ever recorded in the annals of time, but you want to deny us because you owe us reparations and you don't want to pay up today. The so-called Jew Holocaust. And I say so-called Jew because he's not a real Jew. He's a Johnny-come-lately Jew who just crawled out of the caves and hills of Europe just a few days ago. So you're not even a real Jew, buddy. The so-called Jew Holocaust lasted, you with me? Because I got to drop this stuff tonight because I'm a truth terrorist. I'm a knowledge gangster. I'm a black history hitman. I'm a lie killer, urban guerrilla. I got to be a roughneck. Gotta be a roughneck. It's the only way I know to go. The Jew Holocaust lasted 10 years. But the Holocaust of the black man and woman lasted over 500 years. Let's look at it. 1 10 years, 1 500 years. Maybe I'm a little confused. Maybe I'm too much of a racist. Maybe I'm too much of a bigot and an anti-Semite when I'm really none of that. But maybe just by chance, 10 years is greater than 500 years. Let's kick the ballistics. You say you lost 6 million, and we question that. You say you lost 6 million, but for the sake of argument, we'll give you 6 million. We lost over 600 million lives in the the black Holocaust over the past 6,000 years and over the past 400 to 500 years in specific. Maybe I'm a little bit confused. Maybe I'm too big a racist or an anti-Semite or a bigot. And maybe somehow 6 million is greater than 600 million. That possibility is there. You have your Schindler's List, which is really a swindler's list, because you were involved in the slave trade. You were involved, and you don't want to actually accept your involvement because you too want to escape reparations. You want to escape reparations and what is due the black man and black woman. Let's look at it. You talk about the death marches. My guide was a very nice lady, Miss Sarah Bloomfield. She worked very closely with my son, Farrakhan, and I as we were there. And we listened to Miss Bloomfield closely and carefully. We didn't go in for a show. We went in to study. We went in to do research. It wasn't a media event. We didn't even allow the media to go in with us so they would be following us around, looking at us at everything we were trying to feel and study. My son and I, we looked. Yes, we were sensitive to what we saw, pain and suffering. We're the chosen people of God. We are a spiritual people by nature, and we feel the pain and suffering of any people anywhere on the face of the planet Earth, even the people who helped to put us in this condition. So maybe we need to reevaluate that. My son looked at some of the Germans killing the Jews, so-called Jews, and he said, "This is sick, Daddy." And as we looked at it, feeling that, we saw where you talked about the death marches, where the Jews were forced in mass to move from one camp to the next camp, from one ghetto to the next ghetto. But what about the death marches in Africa? What about the sons and daughters of Africa put on desperate death marches for economic gain and financial purposes as we were marched hundreds of miles, some of us dying in the heat of the sun, trying to move us from the East Coast to the West Coast, trying to move us from Southern Africa back to a coastal area, or from the northern region to a coastal area. What about the massive death marches that took our lives on the African continent? They said that by the summer of 1942, there were over 400 ghettos. We question that. That the Jews were forced and confined into over 400 ghettos. Well, you might have 400 ghettos in just one state, one county. You are removed from your ghettos of Warsaw and Krakow. You are removed from your ghettos, white Jew. But these, the sons and daughters of Africa, we are still in the ghettos of white America to this very day that we sit here tonight. We are still in our ghetto. You talked about how they had to build overhead sidewalks, that Jews were not allowed to walk with the Germans. They built overhead sidewalks. Well, the black man and the black woman, we were not allowed to walk on the same sidewalk with the cracker. When old snuff-dipping, tobacco-chewing, cloth-chewing, overall-wearing Peckerwood was on the sidewalk, we had to jump out in the street and let the Peckerwood walk on the sidewalk. They even had what was called laughing barrels. If we were talking and something was funny to us, we couldn't even laugh openly. We had to go and open a barrel up. I've seen some of them in Charleston, down in the Carolinas, and stick our head down in the barrel and laugh, so that when we came back up in the presence of white folks, we were straight-faced. Let's look at it. You built your Holocaust memorial. Cost over $200 million. That's what Brother Dr. Brock is talking about. That's what Brother James Cameron is talking about in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, who is working to set up the Black Holocaust Museum there because of what happened to him and all of our people, but him in the summer, the month of August of 1930, where he was with his two friends, 16, 18, and 19, accused of raping a white woman, which they did not do. You've seen the picture of the brothers hanging there. And Brother James Cameron was the one of the three that escaped the hangman's noose. And now he is now setting up the Black Holocaust Museum in Milwaukee, and we should work to help him set it up. And we should set them up all over America. $200 million to set up your African Holocaust Museum. Because the space should be ours. The 2 million should be ours. That's the point I'm making. It should be our African Holocaust Museum. But you, with a swindler's list, have swindled us, have stolen our birthright. And now our African Holocaust Museum, you claim it. They told me that you get $21 million yesterday, they said, a year, just for operating expenses alone. $21 million from the government of the United States of America just for operating expenses. Every year, your Holocaust, you say, took place in Germany, took place thousands of miles from here, but no museum, no Holocaust, no 200 million, no 21 million, not even $1,000, not $1 has been put aside. And our Holocaust took place and is still taking place right here on this soil, here in the hills of North America. You say you were herded away in boxcars. Where's the photo? Bring it around, Brother Steve. You were herded in boxcars. We were brought in the holds of slave ships. You say it was 1619, but white folks do lie. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teach us that we came here in the year 1555. We didn't come on the Nina, the Pinta, nor the Santa Maria, not that way. And we didn't come on the Mayflower. We didn't land at Plymouth Rock. We got hit in the head with the damn rock. We came in the holds of ships to be made burden bearers for white America, stacked and packed like sardines in a can and like cockroaches in a Coke bottle. We lost over 150 to 200 million black lives just in the Middle Passage, just coming over between Africa and America. We have not only experienced a Holocaust, but we have paid a hell of a cost. I didn't come here tonight to be soft at a Black Holocaust observance. The white folks and the so-called white Jews, you've gotten me busted. And I accept the discipline and the judgment of my spiritual father, leader, teacher, and guide, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. There is no division in the Nation of Islam. I follow a divine chain of command. I'm saying, oh, there it is. There it is. I follow a divine chain of command. But you've gotten me busted. So I'm no longer national assistant, no longer national spokesman, no longer national representative, no longer even a minister in the Nation of Islam. So nothing I say now can you attempt to use against God's man, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. None of my words can you attempt to use against him. You took a calculated risk that I would turn on my teacher. 30 years ago, we played out this same history with the history of Minister Malcolm X, El Hajj, Malik El Shabazz, Brother Omar Wali, and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad during the 60s. But the 6 is a 9 turned upside down. And these are the 90s. We're going to turn the 6 of the 60s right side up in the 90s and put a positive period behind that history of Elijah and Malcolm. There is no Malcolm without Elijah, and there is no Khalid without Farrakhan. Make no mistake about it.
All right, there we go. And again, that was Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. Doc, what did you think? Now, you've been to the Holocaust Memorial, just like Dr. Khalid was talking about. And,
I was a fellow at the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. So I was there for weeks. Yeah.
And as Dr. Khalid said, that it was okay to do a comparison when we're looking at which one was worse. And since Jimmy Carter said that it was the worst, and a lot of other people say that it was the worst Holocaust or worst thing that has happened in human history. I took it and asked the question to AI, which was the worst. But of course, surprisingly, AI did say that the transatlantic slave trade was the worst. Even though I don't think we necessarily can compare atrocities, but they have a way of uplifting theirs in a method that we have yet to understand, I believe. What was your taking from it? Is it something that we have yet to understand, how to produce such work that would uplift what we went through.
Most certainly. They're experts at telling their story. It's just what it is. When you look at the persuasiveness of being there, and like I said, I was there for weeks. So I saw not only what the public sees, but I also, we were allowed, there was probably about 24, 25 of us. 4 or 5 of us were African Americans. So we got to sit in on their meetings as far as their plans for the next display, what would occur, why it would occur, what resources they have behind the scenes. And from the beginning to the end, it is aimed at promoting their story. They have a way of not allowing anyone else to even touch their story. If you touch their story, they're going to blame you and label you and lead to a point where those who support your entity, your industry, your agency, they can touch your donors and hurt you that way. So in many ways, the way they tell their story, it's just what it is. I would challenge anyone who is not going into the experience with such a negative, dour perspective of the Jews. I would challenge anyone to go up in there into United States Holocaust Memorial Museum and not be moved. And as Khalid talks about himself, there are elements of it that moved his son. There are elements that probably moved him. It's an amazing experience, to be honest with you. It is. It's absolutely positively amazing, and it's aimed at promoting a political agenda. It's aimed at molding how the world looks at something that, and let's be very clear on what it is that we're talking about. Something that happened almost a century ago. We're approaching a century, and it's still as powerful as if it happened yesterday. Versus how America in general, Black America in particular, views history. Our history, for far too many of us, is dormant. It doesn't have much power to it. If you talk to many of our young people, and I had young people tell me this, anything that's past 2000 is back in the day and doesn't matter anymore.
What?
Other people don't look at it that way. And it's one of the reasons why, and just think about it this way, the shame that our children have about American chattel slavery. They shy away from talking about it. They'll tell you themselves, why are we still talking about slavery? That's done. It's over and done with. As John Henry Clark said to Cornel West at Ohio State during a debate, I don't remember the point that West was trying to make, but Dr. Clark looked at him and he simply said, "You wouldn't say that to a Jew." And that's what I feel myself yearning to say to our people. This idea of forget the past, this idea of move forward. We got bigger things that we need to address. Well, tell that to the Jews. Okay. And when you look at the setup and the trajectory of the African American Museum versus the trajectory and the intentions of the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, their museum is aimed at shaping public policy towards affecting the nation, impacting how people look at the Holocaust. And I say it that way at this moment intentionally,
Mhm.
because if one is not careful, you will couple together Jewish suffering and the word Holocaust. In the word Holocaust, they don't have a trademark upon that word. They don't have a trademark upon the suffering that has occurred. There's been so many different atrocities that man has done to man. We can look at Rwanda. We can it's the human history is full of Holocaust, but there's just one that is extenuated and promoted and what have you, and it's the Jewish Holocaust. And that's one of the things out of everything. I think it would be progress if we could get people to uncouple that terminology, and instead of saying Holocaust, use Jewish Holocaust, because to not do that is disrespectful to all other peoples who have experienced a Holocaust
Mm.
some kind. You're in many ways, ignoring their suffering and saying, well, these lives mattered more than other lives. And nothing could be further from the truth.
Doc, you are the first person I've ever heard say the Rwandan Holocaust. I,
Yes.
I, I've I've never heard anybody else put those two words together.
Yeah, they'll call our suffering like Rwanda. Rwanda is a perfect example. They call it genocide
Right, right.
because well, and this is the narrative that is advanced. Well, y'all killed your own people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, be consistent across the board, because we know for sure that there are some Jews who, for whatever reason, could be trying to preserve their lives, trying to show and I know you'll be very surprised to hear me use this terminology, but they had some house niggas too, okay,
Mm,
um, who made
mm,
a strategic decision that my life could be better, my life could be saved, the lives of my children could be saved if I capitulate to those who are oppressing us. It is a survival strategy. Now, if you're
mm.
going to say, well, and you often hear this when you're talking about slavery. Well, black people enslaved each other.
Right.
Africans sold other Africans. Well, be consistent and say the same thing when you're talking about other folk. If we're talking about Roanoke, which is the first British colony, it's not Jamestown. Be honest about it and say, well, the people of Roanoke, they ate each other.
Mm,
They turned to cannibalism. So
mm-hmm.
isn't that you turning on your own? So talk about that as well. Talk about the Jews. Some did resist. Others went along with it, trying to save themselves. So they control that narrative so tightly that they will, they're the ultimate fuck around and find out people.
Mm-hmm.
Because you go ahead and step up to that monster, and you will have people that you never thought of at your throat.
Mm-hmm.
People that from your perspective, you have no understanding, no comprehension of why these people are so up in arms and mad about these other people. And so the sympathy meter that they get is off the charts. Let's be very clear about that. And they
Mm-hmm.
utilize that to this very day.
Mm-hmm. Doc, when Dr. Khalid talks about uncompromising truth,
Mhm.
what does that really mean?
His idea of uncompromising truth is very similar to what we see the Jews do with their truth. It is advancing a narrative that benefits you. It doesn't consider other folk. It doesn't consider what they've been through. Think about it this way. When he stands up and he talks about the pain and the suffering that black folk have gone through, there's nothing that is historically inaccurate about it. Let me say that first. But he leaves out some of the suffering of other groups. And his answer would be the same that the Jews' answer would be, which is quite simply, well, I ain't talking about them right now. I'm talking about this narrative right here. That's unusual for Black scholars, for Black political leaders, for notable Black people to do. We're the kind-hearted people. The vast majority of us are. Look at the difference of the presidential styles of a George W. Bush, a Donald Trump, and a Barack Hussein Obama.
Mm.
Paul Mooney said he characterized George W. Bush perfectly. He says quite simply, "You got a real gangbanger in there now, don't you?"
Mhm.
Same thing with Trump. I mean, come on. He went in and abducted another country's president
Mhm.
and is talking about bombing Mexico right now versus the middle of the road, lukewarm leadership of an Obama.
Mhm.
And there's something to be said for psychologically because there is no physical reason for it, but there's a psychological reason for it that Black folk are not allowed to speak uncompromising truth. For you to speak uncompromising truth means alienation and starvation. And you're
Mm.
not going to find people who are going to stand with you in public. And I've experienced this when I was in graduate school. I had a professor who he was the chief architect behind attempting to get Central State University in Wilberforce closed down. And he tried to make this statement in class. And this is a man who is a state senator,
Mm.
and he's making this comment about being so involved in the civil rights movement, and he, Stokely had a coat that was worth more than my entire wardrobe. He goes into all of that, and he said something that he directed at me, and I didn't appreciate it.
Mhm.
And so what I said was, well, if you was down there with Snick, I'm quite sure you was an undercover agent working with the FBI.
Ooh.
He flies into a rage, right?
Mm.
On the break, graduate class, we took like maybe a 10-minute break, what have you. I'm outside, cooling out, outside the classroom. And I had so many of my classmates, the Black ones, come by and say, yeah, 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 you was right, brother. You told them, you spoke the truth. They only said that in private.
Mm.
When we went back in that room, they didn't say anything.
Mm. Mm.
That's what made him stand out above other people. But let's be very clear about this. And anyone who's adult and has lived enough life will understand this. Poor people can't talk shit
Mm.
because they can rein you in immediately, cutting off all of your financial resources and what have you. It says something that when you look at that roster of individuals he was talking about, Steve Coakley, independent, Leonard Jeffries, the uncle of Hakeem and Hassan Jeffries, okay, independent. It's not that they're the only ones who know the things that they're saying, especially when you're
Mhm.
talking about the African Holocaust, the Jewish Holocaust, all of these different Holocausts that have occurred. They're the only ones who can speak truth to power and not have their lives destroyed. And that says a lot about your political class, your educated class, and the dearth or absence of monetary resources to protect your truth tellers. One of the things that I tell people all the time, and I'm usually talking about Oprah when I say this, but this can be spread out amongst all the black billionaires that we have now.
Mhm.
Name me one who got their money without the assistance or aid of white folk.
I don't know any.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Oprah, you look at Jay-Z, you look at Rihanna, you look at all of these different guys, all these guys and gals. They are in many ways at some point of their life, and I would argue that it probably never ends, beholden to help to whoever helped them ascend that economic ladder. We can never forget what happened to Kanye. They stripped that brother in
Mhm.
public.
Yeah.
That's not much different from what we're seeing with the United States government throwing a good portion of their financial resources and their weight behind the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. Okay.
Mm.
Um, I can tell you, you know DC. We were housed near Georgetown University.
Mhm.
And when you look at those hotel rooms, and they'll have the rates inside of the door, like on the back side of the inside of the door or the front door,
Right.
that tells you how much you'll pay if you stay during this season, this season, this season. I was in a they put me up in it, and it's only me. I'm in a 3-bedroom place with a doorman,
Mm.
and the going rate of that was $475 a night.
Mm.
Okay, it was so exclusive that one day one day I went outside and I bought a newspaper, and I was reading. It was Baseball America, and I'm reading Baseball America. I had climbed the top of a one of those old school newspaper stands where you
Mhm.
in and you pull the thing down. I'm sitting on top of that because there are no benches or whatever to sit on. And I saw a police car ride by me. I saw another one ride by me. I'm thinking nothing. I'm sitting outside. This is probably November, December.
Mhm.
So it's cold. So I got my I call it the Warrior. Um, it's an oversized black hoodie that I wear, and I've had the Warrior for, I bet you, 25, 30 years. It ain't got a hole in it yet. Okay.
Mm.
Next thing I know, I see 2 cop cars driving up the street the wrong way. I see 2 more driving the wrong way on the sidewalk, and I
Mm.
see 4 coming the right way. And they got my attention. I'm like, oh man, it's getting ready to go down. And I'm looking at it like, man, what is going on? I heard that DC was rough, but I didn't expect to be caught in, to be an eyewitness to nothing. I had no idea they was coming to get me. They didn't grab your boy. They knocked me on my newspaper thing. They got guns out, and they want to know, what am I doing there? I told them, stand, because I'm not 50 feet from the front door of where I'm staying at the hotel.
Right.
They didn't cuff me, stuff me. They took me into the hotel. In the doorman, they asked him, said that, is he staying here? And he was like, yeah, he's staying here, blah, 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 blah. One of the cops, she was a black woman. She said, listen, brother, do not come out with no doggone hoodie on. Okay. Apparently, and you want to talk about Murphy's rules and bad luck. Apparently, the place that I was staying had been robbed 3 times in the past 6 weeks. And so they were watching it. They let me go, and I'm like, I'm finna go up to the room. And so I'm talking with the dude that's at the front desk. And he says to me, he says, yeah, you think you got bad luck. He said, just imagine if you were the one working here every time it got robbed. And I looked at him and I said, so they only rob it when you working at the front desk? And he said, yeah. I said, yeah, all right then. Yeah. And as I got on the elevator, I said, you involved with it. That's why they ride. And they probably got your work schedule. Okay. And said, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen with this fool is right here at the desk. So they got money. They got loan money. And like I said, I was there for almost a month. So you're talking about what? $500 for 25 days. That's like over 12 grand. Which makes, it makes it kind of hard when you got to go back over there with the black people who ain't got no money. They told them about we might be able to get you a room if you can fly out here to speak. Makes it kind of hard because they have basically unlimited resources, and those unlimited resources, a big portion of that is coming out of U.S. taxpayer dollars, which speaks volumes about how Black America is viewed. When your suffering happened right here in this nation, and let's remember that to get the African American Museum up, they was scripting and scraping. They was calling up people they knew to get donations for it.
Exactly.
That's a problem.
Doc, why did his clarity scare a lot of institutions?
Because it was so powerful and strong. Khalid has the ability to not only shock people, but he's very similar to Malcolm in this way. He's able to reach and touch everyone in the room from PhDs to no degrees. That's a problem right there. And there's a paranoia and I guess we can call it a schizophrenia that goes on amongst white folk that reverberates all the way back from a guilt of what has happened in this nation. And so they don't want you. Keep in mind when we talked about the critical race theory thing that was so big recently. One of the arguments that they had here in Texas for why it should be banned is because it made white children feel bad. You're teaching things that make our kids feel bad about being white.
Right.
Well, okay, okay, but is it truthful? That doesn't matter. And ultimately, a person like Khalid, like Malcolm had the same ability to reach everybody in a room. The the thing that it really highlights, if you pay close attention to it, is these people have the ability to make you physically disappear or to silence you, just predicated upon how they feel about what you're saying,
Hmm.
which, from my perspective, is a violation of the First Amendment, which makes them un-American.
Mm.
They're only American patriots when it suits them,
Right.
and that's a message that you never hear anyone really talking about.
Hmm. Exactly. Exactly. I definitely agree with that. So, how does his tone differ from today's political message? What would it be if Khalid was still around today?
Mm. Um, Honestly, I think that Khaled's message would reach that devoted Black nationalist leaning aspect of Black America.
Mm.
Those who would show out to see him and what have you. But there's a part of me that feels that, how can I say this? It's very difficult to get noticed in a tidal wave of internet voices.
Mm.
One of the advantages, one of the major advantages, and I would say it's probably the major advantage that the Nation of Islam has always had over other groups, is that it had its own newspaper where it was
Mhm.
able to speak to its own people. It didn't have to go through CNN or MSNBC. It didn't have to get white permission to be able to reach and talk to the masses of people. That has changed now, because now anyone can get on the internet and can talk, can say whatever they want to say, even if it's not factual, even if it's asinine, if it's backwards or what have you. They have the same ability as anyone else does. So how do you stand out in that sea of voices? Khaled was able to stand out at a moment. Number one, he has an organizational backing. Number two, there aren't that many voices like his that are out there. So we can talk about tone, we can talk about tenor, we can talk about all of those things. But the truth of the matter is the Nation of Islam, same thing with Malcolm, same thing with Minister Farrakhan, is a magnanimous platform to be speaking from. People know that message, people value that message, and that message and that voice will always stand out, even in a sea of other voices. But it's very difficult now. It's very difficult. If you were to ask people right now who's second in command within the Nation of Islam, they probably wouldn't be able to tell you. People who are not, you know, members of the Nation of Islam. Who
Mhm.
who's the minister in this city? Who's the minister in another city? They probably wouldn't be able to tell you, because
Mhm.
we are in many ways on sensory overload with junk that people are speaking.
Definitely, definitely. Our next video, we're going to look at or I don't even know if even calling it a video is appropriate. But the next battle we're going to look at is when Dr. Khalid was on Phil Donahue.
Oh, oh, you know, while you were talking,
Mm-hmm.
and we were talking about the you know, the Jewish Holocaust and what have you, Phyllis Yvonne Stickney is in the audience today. She's the sister from Inkwell. She's in Inkwell. She's been in a lot of movies. And she gets up and she says, the Holocaust is the greatest atrocity captured on film. Ours was on film.
Mm.
Yeah. So you know, I've watched Khalid Muhammad being on the Hugh literally times.
Mm. Yes. This is like, wow, a real battle. We're gonna check a few minutes of it out and come back and discuss it.
How are you? This is Khalid Muhammad, former national representative of Minister Louis Farrakhan of the Nation of Islam. Mr. Muhammad is the man who made so many of the front pages of America's newspapers with a speech at Kean College, which so many people called anti-Semitic and a lot of things. At the very least, racist. You remember the comment? He picked up the Pope's dress, and let's see what's under that dress. Here's what you said about Colin Ferguson, the man who shot a Jamaican black male who shot 6 people on the Long Island train. Mr. Muhammad speaks.
Where they set black inmates up in these jails and penitentiaries, and in particular there in Nassau County, and pulled all the black officers out and the black inmates so they could jump on Brother Colin Ferguson, because they were mad with him for catching the Long Island train and killing all them white folks. I love Colin Ferguson. I have no official position, so I can say I love him.
You love a man who randomly killed 6 people on a commuter train?
I love Colin Ferguson just as much as the masses of white Americans love General Schwarzkopf, General Westmoreland, General Patton, General MacArthur, and Eisenhower. America awards her killers, and they get ribbons and stripes and bars. I'm sensitive to the pain and suffering of the loss of life on that train, but I'm one of the rebellious slaves. And so when black people stand up out of pain and suffering and frustration, I understand after 500 years.
You also, you talk about the response of some African Americans to, for example, the book which attempts to prove that Jews are involved in the slave trade. I'd be happy to let them see that. You talk about when white folks can't defeat you, you said in your speech at Kean, they'll always find some Negro, some boot-licking, butt-licking, buck-dancing, bamboozle, half-baked, half-fried, sissified, punkified, pasteurized, homogenized nigger that they can trot out in front of you. I would ask you, Mr. Muhammad, is Jesse Jackson a boot-licking, homogenized nigger?
To the best of his ability, I believe he tries every day to do that.
Here you are mocking Jesse Jackson at a speech, I believe this is Howard University. Roll the tape.
Oh, boot-licking, buck-dancing, scratching, shuffling, messy Jesse Jackson. You keep. I am a somebody. I am a somebody. Keep hope alive. I am a somebody. I don't rightly know who the hell I am, but I am somebody.
Yeah. Are you an entertainer, or are you a committed person to black people?
I'm so glad you asked that question. I believe that the liberation and salvation of the black nation must be brought about by black people gaining a thorough knowledge of self after our 500 to 6,000 year Holocaust, where we have lost over 600 million. And so I believe that that education process must be a process of two steps: inspiration and information. So I seriously give information, but black people are a people of rhythm and spirit, so I also give inspiration.
From your speech at Kane College in 1960, Chief Luthuli, the head of the ANC, received a Nobel Peace Prize, you reported to your audience, reminded them, for nonviolent struggle. Yes. Just like Mandela just received it with F.W. de Klerk. How could you stand with your oppressor and your enemy and receive the Nobel Prize for nonviolent struggle? You have, you do not support, then, Nelson Mandela's strategy in the struggle to free black people in South Africa?
Let us first of all be very clear here, Phil. Nelson Mandela is my brother.
So is Jesse Jackson.
He is a member of the family, and so is Jesse, and Jesse is a very brilliant man. We just want him to return home and stop being used by the enemy and the oppressor against his people. Now back to Brother Nelson Mandela. And certainly we can never mention Nelson without mentioning Winnie Mandela. But Nelson Mandela's attempt at a multiracial government in South Africa after the murder of men, women, children, and babies, and the rape of South Africa, a criminal settler colony that has been established like Israel there in that part of the world. I cannot go along with one man, one vote. Let me say why. If someone broke into your home, Mr. Donahue, and actually bomb-rushed your home, and Black Boots stomped your door down, and came in and robbed and raped everyone in the household, and was able to take the wealth of your home and parlay it into an empire. This is an invader. This is an intruder. This is a murderer. This is a burglar. This is a criminal. So you have no responsibility to share your home with them after they broke in and committed the crimes that they did.
You want, you said about South Africa, we give him, that is to say white people, 24 hours to get out of town by sundown. That's all. If he won't get out of town by sundown, we'll kill every white that ain't right that's in sight in South Africa. We kill the women, we kill the children, we kill the babies, we kill the blind, we kill the cripple, we kill them all. We kill the faggot, we kill the lesbian, we kill them all. You say, why kill the babies in South Africa? Because they're going to grow up and oppress our babies, so we kill the babies. Are you seriously presenting yourself as a man interested in the future of your people with this kind of rhetoric?
I'm just as interested in the freedom of my people as I am in the self-determination or the Kujichagulia, self-development, them being self-defining, self-respecting, and self-defending. If the white man has killed millions of our people, and you cannot deny the undeniable and indisputable and irrefutable truth, fact, proof, and history of their bloodshed there in South Africa. I said it would be merciful if they would leave. I don't agree with a government, a sham government. No man walks out of prison after 27 years and becomes the president unless there's a script and a plan behind the scenes to remove the economic sanctions from whites in South Africa, but no real plan for redistribution of the wealth. The Oppenheimers, the De Beers, and others there sucking the blood of our people. So I said, be merciful. Give them a period of time. Truman gave the Japanese a period of time, but when they didn't comply, he dropped the bomb on men, women, children, and babies. I make no apology for that statement. I believe that the invasion of South Africa was an act of unprovoked war. One nation against another nation, and nations must fight for the self-determination. They had no business there, Mr. Donahue.
Yes. Would you like to see Aristide return to Haiti to his rightful, duly elected position as president?
From what I have learned and studied of President Aristide, from what I can see in those I've been privileged to talk to who are close to him, he appears to be a very sincere man. He appears to be a man who really loves our people there and wants to see our people breathe free and correct the problems that colonialism and other disruptions is very definitely at the root of. However, Phil, I do not want to see my beloved brother, President Aristide, returned to Haiti by the power of a Bill Clinton. Because if Bill Clinton can help to return him there, he will always attempt to be the puppeteer who will pull the strings and try to dictate to my brother how he should carry out the affairs of government there.
Mm-hmm. Your comments appear to bespeak a political position in which you have no interest at all in reaching out and hoping and working for a multiracial community of harmony and peace. Am I correct in saying you have forsaken that ideal?
My arms are tired, Bill. We've reached out for 500 years.
Too late now.
We faced tanks. We faced water hoses and cattle prods. Vicious dogs bit the breast of black women off in those protest marches of the civil rights movement. Vicious four-legged dogs sicked on us by two-legged dogs, bit into the groin and the private parts of black men, women, and children. So, Mr. Donahue, I believe that the white man is absolutely disagreeable to live with in peace, and that no one has been able to get along with him nowhere on the face 196,940,000 square miles of the planet Earth.
And so you will continue this rhetoric. You will continue
and action.
And action. Action. What kind of action? Strategy to affect what in the United States of America? Let's start with us.
No wise general sits with a representative of the opposition to discuss battle strategy and battle plans before the entire world. I don't think that would be wise. But the mission of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and the mission of my spiritual father, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, whom I love very much, and I want to be in that number when he takes 1 million black men to Washington, D.C. to call for reparations and justice. Their work is a work of liberation and salvation. Their work is a work to raise the mentally and spiritually dead black man and woman after we have been robbed of our names, our language, our religion, our culture, our God, our folkways, mores, and robbed of a power, the power of our own being.
Lift up the Pope's skirt to see what's under there. This is high school stuff. Words like faggot. It's an immature sort of failure to really get out of the old Beavis Butthead kind of environment. Certainly you can't be proud of this kind of language that you use.
Well, if it is high school Then the Bible, let's listen for a second. The Bible speaks of lifting up the skirts of the garment. Oh, I'm surprised that you feel. It's a metaphor. It's symbolic language. I'm not at all interested in what is under the Pope's clothes. I'm not into that. It's a metaphor.
Let's see what's under there.
But it is a metaphor to say, let us expose the Pope, according to H. Shelton Smith, President Emeritus of Duke University, in his book entitled In His Image, quote, the Catholic Church and the Pope were directly involved in the institution of slavery. They financed slavery and gave the okay that it was good business to sell Africans. Lift up the skirts of his garment so that we can see the shame and reveal what has been hidden. But it has nothing to do with sexuality whatsoever.
All right. You know, Doc, you remember the saying, if looks can kill.
I was going to ask you about if you could articulate what that look. What was Khalid saying with that look?
You devil, I'll rip your damn head off. Boy, oh boy. I was like, Lord have mercy. You know, I don't know if Donahue understood that he was sitting across the table from his own death. I don't think he understood that. I don't think he understood that at all. His composure, Dr. Khalid's composure, to maintain under attack. How would you talk about that? How would you grow that?
How would you grow it or teach it? Or it comes from being so grounded in your truth, the truth, that you're in many ways unfallible. You're unflappable in regards to that. The truth, the truth is different from a lie, obviously, but one of the main differences between the two, a lie has to be tended to. The truth stands on its own. And I don't care how many times you ask, how many ways you ask, the truth is never going to change. So if you're a person like Khalid and you're well-read and you're grounded in, no, this is the truth. These aren't gradients. These aren't, there's a self-assuredness that comes with it. And then when that self-assuredness meets knowledge and a thorough knowledge and a courage, and then also we can never overlook the fact that Khalid is charismatic. So he's in many ways has everything you would need to be a brilliant orator. Study and knowing exactly what it is that you know, and that you're not going to be shaken from it.
Wow. He used facts, information as a weapon. Can you talk to us? How do we do that? How do we weaponize facts?
It's in many ways knowing your material, 100% knowing history. And if you don't know history, you're going to be the one getting bashed in the head behind half truths. But if you know the history and you studied the history and it's a correct history, because I can guarantee you, and he actually says this, that he went to the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. He wasn't just hearing about it. He went there. And there's a knowledge that flows from being there, from doing. One of the things that when I hear the denials of Jews being involved with the transatlantic slave trade. I know that that's a politically expedient ploy for them to escape any blame for what it is. But one of the reasons I know that they were involved, if you go to the Cape Coast Castle in Ghana,
Mhm.
there's a door there. Different nations had different sort of, you could almost call them storage closets, where they would keep their goods there. You have one with a Star of David right there on it,
Mm.
right there. Now if that,
Mm.
now you can't deny that that's the Star of David. You can't deny what that represents. Now you can try and explain it away and use these false, you can ponder and equivocate. You can do all of those things, but that thing is there. Now you can advance an absurd argument. Well, that door wasn't there originally, and they just put that up. No, it's there.
Mhm.
So we have to in every way make every moment, every fact that we study usable. You need to weaponize all of it, because if you're not weaponizing all of it, what are you doing? You're fooling yourself. You're playing around. And I'm thinking about the idea and the awareness of measuring the seriousness and the hatred of oppression,
Mhm.
how much time we spend studying and trying to illuminate and educate others. Black folk are not doing enough of that.
Mm.
We have a small subculture that does that, but the majority of individuals, they're not really interested in throwing off. They're not even interested in being made aware of the shackles that they have on them. Let
Mhm.
alone what's the process for removing not only your shackles, but the shackles of your mama, your uncle, your daddy, your grandparents.
Mhm.
We're not a very serious-minded people by and large.
Mm. Doc, on the part that Donahue confronted Dr. Khalid about the kill them all, kill the
Mm.
children, kill the women, kill the
Yeah,
old, kill the crippled,
yeah.
Khalid didn't run
Mm.
from the statement. He owned it. He embraced that statement. Do you think that Donahue thought that he was going to get Khalid to run away from that
Yeah,
statement?
yeah. To explain that statement somehow,
Mm.
to back off of that statement, because in every way, it is a horrendously grotesque and ugly statement. But if it is horrendously grotesque and ugly when it comes from Khaled, keep that same spirit when you're talking about Truman. Keep that same spirit when you're talking about what we're seeing right now with Trump blowing up, them people out there fishing, and you're gonna just
Mhm.
blow their boat to hell.
Right.
Is it still grotesque and horrendous? Is it immoral still? Because if it isn't, then we really have no common ground that we can even talk about. And that's what Khaled is talking about. Okay, on the one hand, when it's black folk calling for this, you don't have a problem. But when it's the president of the United States actually doing it and ordering it, now it's different. We can't
Mhm.
respect that.
Mm. And in the actual video when he says that, and he's in a room, of course, with the majority of our people. Actually, he's debating a white person in there,
Hmm.
and when he delivers that line, an old black woman, with her Sunday hat on,
Hmm.
jumps up in the aisle like she's at church and starts clapping her hands and saying, yes, 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 like she's praising God when Khalid is going in like that during that part when he's saying that. And I sit back and I watch it. And the question comes to my mind. She's exhilarated by him saying that. She feels it in her bones and she stands up like she's praising God, receiving that message.
Certainly.
Can you explain why she would do that?
Have you ever known something was wrong or an injustice was being done and you didn't have either the words or the platform or the means to be able to address it? You know it's wrong, but you can't really articulate why it's wrong. And then here you come across someone like Khalid, who's able to stand toe to toe with the people who have done you wrong your entire life, and able to also articulate in a way that you could never articulate not only the truth, but also the pervasive hypocrisy that is occurring. It is almost as if one of God's angels came down, a messenger came down and delivered this message. She needed to hear that, to understand that she was not crazy, that this is in many ways who these people are. And I am so glad that this young man right here was able to address that and to speak to these people and to tell them off. It is in many ways a religious experience, to be honest with you. It's a religious experience. It is a freeing of the soul, of the mind, that finally I don't have to bow my head, that somebody actually spoke what it is that I feel in my bones. And that's, to be honest with you, is what those of us who have been privileged enough to study, to get an education, we owe that to those who couldn't, to those whose shoulders we stand on. Mm-hmm. And we must never forget that we're standing on that woman's shoulders. And you have a duty, you have a moral obligation to represent for them.
That's right. That's right. What lessons can organizers take from his debate style that we just watched? Organizers, people that are, trying to go out there and deliver a message to our people. Because we saw Geraldo had Malik, when one of Malik members said, how you going to be walking through the African Street Festival holding hands with your Caucasian girlfriend? How in the hell are you going to do that when you got to kill late babies? And then Malik was on Geraldo, and Geraldo punked Malik on national TV and made him take back those words, But Dr. Khalid, he would have never been able to do that to Dr. Khalid. No. What must organizers, wannabe leaders, be able to have and use that type of debate style that Dr. Khalid used?
Be well-read and courageous. There's nothing more to it. Be well-read and courageous. And understand, you have to understand the issue. And that's one of my biggest things. And we've done this for years. One of my biggest complaints are these so-called conspiracy theories that are so harebrained. No, that's not what's happening. What's happening, like people will say, well, them banks ain't gonna give you no credit. Well, look here. What's your credit score look like? Would you loan you some money? There's this world is not, and I'm not denying the possibility for supernatural godly intervention. But this is a material world with laws, the law of gravity. Okay. You can do whatever they do. You just have to figure out how to do it. Understand that your situation is different, but also recognize that they're no better than you. And that's the message that has to be hammered out for our people. You got to understand that this is a logical material world. And if you put $100 in the bank and you leave it there for 3 weeks, and then you go to an ATM machine, you're gonna have $100 in the bank still.
Mhm.
Versus the idea of you taking it out in drips and drabs and then turn around and say, "Oh, the white folk, they got all the money." No, you got some white folk who mismanage their money in the same manner and rate that you do. So be well read, be courageous, be consistent. If you're going to take a perspective, a position like Malik Zulu Shabazz did, stand on that square.
Mhm.
If you can't stand on that square, don't take that position, because it's not what you really think, or you're not courageous enough to hold on to that
Mhm.
point.
Definitely. Doc, how did you develop the courage to speak without fear?
My mother, period. My
Mm.
mother told me at an early age, when I started going to a integrated school. And it's not that my elementary school was racially segregated, but wasn't many white folk in our neighborhood. So not many white kids went to our school. But by the time I got to the 6th grade, and I was in there with the white folk, and I'm talking about 90% of my classmates on the 2nd floor, because they separated us from the black kids. My mother told me, she said, "We're sending you, period. Ain't nobody coming to help you. Okay. We're sending you." And so there's something about the mother telling a child what they can do and what they cannot do. Man, please, you can't tell. You can't. If my mother told me that I should do it or I could do it, there's literally nothing that you could ever say to me to dissuade me from that belief.
Right.
Period. And when I received my marching orders from my mother to do this type of work, I won't stop until she tell me to stop.
Mm.
Period.
Mm. Definitely. Definitely. What do you think that most Black people, the generous populace, misunderstand most about power?
They don't understand what power actually is. Power is the ability to make something behave in a way that is not in its best interest or that it desires. I know that you're a former, or you're a Washington, what do they call them? The Washington Commanders.
Shit, I ain't never been a commander. I've always been Pittsburgh Steelers.
No, 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 you was probably up there rooting for the Commanders. Um, but if you go back and you look at the Redskins when they had John Riggins,
The
they had
Hogs.
they had the Hogs,
Mm-hmm.
and linemen don't get much television coverage, but the Hogs did.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked one of the Hogs, I want to say it was Jacoby, what felt good. And he said, showing power. He said, I will hit this man in front of me and I'm going to move him to where I want him to go. Okay. He doesn't want to go there, but he's going there. That's power. And we need to understand that there's so many powers that extend further than physical power. We think that beating someone up is going to be, powerful in the end all. No, you have to be prepared to develop and exert power in every arena of your life. We haven't done that very well within our community. We've and let's be honest, and it's not just black people, it's also
Mhm.
poor white folk.
Mhm.
Okay, it's a poverty mindset that in many ways they're out here trying to buy depreciating trinkets and rusting things as if that's going to save them. All it does is give them a momentary boost of self-esteem,
Mhm.
okay, dopamine in their mind, but it sets them back further and further. So our people need to, in many ways, understand that power is not going to ever let up, and their opponents politically, they're getting ready for the next election. They're getting ready for not only the midterms but also the presidential election.
Mhm.
And we're sitting around here, what at the club getting bottle service.
Mhm.
Mac,
Exactly.
Mac, he got all the time in the world now on his hands because Turkey Leg Hut ain't even in existence no more. Happy about that. They never brought me nothing.
Like the next thing I want to ask you about is sacrifice,
Hmm.
because that's something a lot of people don't want to do.
Hmm.
But if we understand Dr. Khalid, he made a lot of sacrifices. What did you sacrifice that people never saw?
I don't think I sacrificed anything because I found who I am. I knew who I was. And so what I'm able to do, what I was able to do I was having a conversation with a colleague right now, a young brother who's starting off in the professorate. This brother, his name, it blew me away. Okay, when he told me his name. His name is James Baldwin. I was
Oh,
like, get out of here. No. And he said, yeah, my name is James Baldwin. My mother married a guy and his last name was Baldwin. Okay. He said it wasn't Baldwin at the beginning. I said, but you accepted that name, right? He said, yeah, for sure. Okay. But we were talking about finding your place. And for me, I found my place early in life. I'm a Believe it or not, I'm an introvert. Okay. I don't really engage a whole lot of people. I'm more likely to engage strangers, like at
mm,
a grocery store or something,
mhm,
than I am people that I know. If you talk to my homeboys, if it ain't them that I'm talking to and we're in a group, I don't talk to anybody. Now, in saying that, I'm a reader, I'm a thinker, I'm a writer. So to the best of my ability, I created a environment where that's what I do. So it's not like how some people say, well, you got to stay at home, and do all this reading and you by yourself, you don't get to go out. I don't want to go out. So the idea of me not going out is natural and preferable to me. But the moments that people don't see, and I don't look at it as sacrifices necessarily. They don't see me up at 4 o'clock in the morning reading and writing and editing, and I do that every single morning. um, they don't see the not leaving the house for like a week and being fine with it, because I'm literally sitting here writing and reading and doing all these things that I truly enjoy. So I think that sacrifice comes when you really are desiring to do something other, but you're forced to do this, kind of like going to work, something that you don't enjoy. um, I I love my life. and I love what it is that I do. I love the people I'm associated with. So it's not really a sacrifice for me. This is everyday life for me. You know, I'm not desiring to do anything else.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. We're going to look at our last video of the Million Youth March and come back and talk about that. Let's see.
You don't have a photo of that brother in that white suit? The world,
No, sir.
the world needs to see that suit, boy. That was a bad suit right there. The color.
I'll see if I can pull it up, but I couldn't find it when I was looking earlier.
Black power! Black power! Black power! Black power! Black power! All praise is due to Allah, giving honor to God. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. We forever thank Almighty God for coming in the person of Master Khalid Muhammad and raising up in our midst a divine leader, a divine teacher, and a divine guide in the person of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we thank the two of them for the man who is my teacher, my mentor, the man who is largely responsible for what I am and what I am becoming, and I will never deny him. I speak of none other than my spiritual father, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. In their names, I greet you with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Black power. Put your black fist in the air. If you will look around you, you will see that they have lined up all in the trenches. If you will look in the rear to this section, you will see they have lined up down the middle. And if you can see around the side of the stage, you will see them in their riot helmets and everything. We say to you today, you no good bastards, that the score is even today. You have lined up. Giuliani, you have sent your troops. But these, the sons and daughters of Africa, the black youth in the hills of North America, we have a right to Kujichagulia and self-determination. And we have a right, a God-given right. And according to white law, which ain't worth the paper that it's written on, a constitutional to defend ourselves against anyone who attacks us. To defend ourselves, self-defense. And so I say to you that as we prepare to close out this rep, we want you to be steadfast. Look these bastards in the eyes. And if anyone attacks you, already decide who will be the one to disconnect the railing where you are and beat the hell out of them with the railing where you are. No good bastards. And if you don't have a gun, every one of them has one gun, two guns, maybe three guns in self-defense. If they attack you, take their goddamn guns from them and use their guns on them. In self-defense, Giuliani is known for taking his police and setting them off in riots. If any one of these bastards riots here today, you take their nightstick the way they did Brother Abdul Muhammad and ram it up their behinds and jam it down their damn throats. Giuliani, the black youth have God on their side. You came against us and called this a hate march. This is a love march. Black on black love and black unity. You took us to federal court, and your own judge ruled against you. A victory for the Million Youth March. You appealed it, and we won victory after victory. And if you attack us today by the power of our God, we'll mop these goddamn streets with you today. No good bastards. So those of you who are in charge, call your dogs off. Remember, decide now who will move the railing where you are and get to wailing on their asses here today. If you're scared, move out now, goddammit. We came in peace. We came in unity. We came in love. They changed all of the rules. And stop asking me about the Jews being the bloodsuckers of the black nation. The no good bastards. They are the bloodsuckers of the black community. How many say they're the bloodsuckers of the black community? Let me see your fists in the air. You don't fear the white man in your own community. They never would have gone to the goddamn Jews in Crown Heights and told their youth that they couldn't march on Utica Avenue, on Eastern Parkway, but they told you you couldn't march in your own community today. And they did everything to cut this crowd today. They stopped the trains from running in this area that would have been most convenient. They're turning our people away at all of the major cross streets, turning them away today. We would not have been able to do any of this. I want you to put your black fist in the air and give special thanks to the world's leader in rap music, No Limit Records, and brother Master P. Holla if you hear me. 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 Go buy every record of Master P you can find. Go get everything of No Limit Records you can find. We'll work on all of our rappers in the future to work toward liberation lyrics and revolutionary rap. But let's give brother Master P and No Limit Records a strong hand for financing this event here today. What's up? They're trying to shut it down on the back. Are we going to let these bastards shut it down? Now we're going to ask the police, back your asses up, and we will leave in peace. Back your asses up, and we will leave in black love and unity, but get the hell out of the way and let our people go. Don't let nobody be arrested. If they grab anyone to arrest them, and you know that it's a police riot, and it is against even white law, then we fight like hell with those who fight against us. Oh, I know bootlicking Charlie Rangel is somewhere out in the crowd, peeing in his pants. I know Bill Perkins is out there scared to death. I know David Patterson is out there scared to death because you bootlicking, butt-licking, butt-dancing, bamboozled, half-baked, half-fried, sissified, punkified, pasteurized, homogenized niggas. Let us get them out of office and put new, young black leadership in office. Thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum. Come on, Sister Cantor Deborah. Pump it up for us. Somebody get Cantor Deborah while we begin to disperse. This is not going to be the Million Youth farce. Oh, no. In fact, we love to tangle with you today. Isn't it a good feeling to outnumber the police sometimes? Isn't it a good feeling to know that in unity we can do whatever we will? We want you now, brothers and sisters, in a very orderly way, with love for each other. Don't push each other. Don't trample each other. If one of the brothers or sisters steps on your foot, you apologize to them for stepping on your foot. Go in the way of love. Go in the way of peace with your own brothers and sisters. We greet you next year, Million Youth March on Eastern Parkway in Brooklyn, New York, in Crown Heights next year. In Give Black Power! 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 Oh, home to your families, brothers.
All right, so that was the ending of the Million Youth March in New York City. And as you see, as you heard, what Dr. Khalid was giving out instructions, and you know, he was charged with crimes because they said that he was inciting violence. Giuliani had him charged with several crimes for the way he spoke that day. It took him all to court, and he won each and every court case. Even prior to the Million Youth March being able to actually be put on, they took him to court to stop it. And, you know, by Allah's grace and mercy, he won each and every court case. So he definitely has a winning track record against them. Doc, well, I think other leaders probably would not have gone that route that Khalid took at the end to say, look, we will fight you. They probably would have took a different approach at it. What's your thoughts of that?
You know, it's, how can I put this? We're dealing with people who don't have a second thought about killing Black folk, who really don't have a second thought about killing anyone that they consider to be on the other side of the law. We recently saw in Minneapolis what occurred, and then there were some killings that followed that in other cities. It really doesn't matter. I'll just say it that way, because if you're advocating for them to defend themselves, law enforcement officers are going to look at that as a threat, as if you're inciting a riot and this and that. If you encourage them, as a Dr. King would, to remain nonviolent, you know, nonviolent civil disobedience, that ain't gonna lessen the chances that they don't whoop you or kill you. So a lot of it is going to have, I would almost argue, no effect in the larger scheme of things. But it's a message that needs to be heard and needs to be adhered to. That quite simply, as Stokely Carmichael put it, all the scared niggas are dead. There needs to be, it needs to be articulated that, yeah, we will do something to you. If we are provoked and we need to do something to you, we will. Now, in the larger scheme of things, of what's going to happen after that, they're going to seize you, they're going to take you, they're going to try you, and they're going to probably put you away forever. So one has to make a choice as to what they're going to do. Where's your principles at?
Definitely. Now we're going to, in our last few minutes, we're going to go over some of his quotes and get your feeling on them. The first one: the white race is absolutely disagreeable to get along with in peace. No other people on the face of the earth have been able to get along with white people since white people have been on our planet. What's your thoughts on that, Doc?
You know, historically speaking, he's correct, but you could in many ways extrapolate that a little further and talk about something about mankind. that mankind has yet to figure out a way to be able to live peacefully with himself. One of the guys that was on the stage at Howard University, Leonard Jeffries.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Jeffries produced that great book, Ice People, Sun People, where he talks about the genesis and the causes of Europeans' aggression, the fact that they lived in part of a bad part of the planet Earth that didn't have food for 4 to 6 months out of the year. So they learned to be covetous. They learned to be hoarding. They learned to be vicious when it comes to the protection of their material resources.
Mm. All right. There are no good crackers. And if you find one, kill him before he changes.
That's Khalid phrase mongering, whipping the crowd up into a frenzy. That's what I look at when I see that. I'm curious to know if members of the Nation of Islam, if they've ever dealt with a good white person, or are they just discounted solely based upon their race?
No, they're not discounted solely based on their race, because we're taught that the quote unquote good ones, there will be a remnant of them that is left behind because they were good. So not every person that's white is bad. There are the good ones out there. It's just like, you got so many. You got, I think it was Muhammad Ali said that you have 10,000 rattlesnakes that's coming to get you. Mm-hmm. But in that mix of 10,000, you may have 10 that are good, that are non-poisonous. So am I going to leave the door open and let the 10,000 in, which include the 10 that's non-poisonous?
Mm-hmm.
So he says, no, I'm going to shut the door. And so I think that by watching white folks and what they do, because they're not evil because their color is white. They're evil because of the deeds that they do. And not all white folks have done evil. We look at one of my favorite movies, Django, the white man, Dr. Schultz. Mm-hmm. Everybody think that Dr. Schultz was a good white guy. But I don't think he was a good white guy, because in the moment of decision, all he had to do was shake Calvin Candy's hand, but he didn't. He put a bullet through his heart and everything went to hell. So, no, you have to be able to look at them and judge by the standard of God what is good and what is not. And then so be it. I think that's how we have to do it. It is what it is. It is what it is. And so the next quote, have you forgotten that once we were brought here, we were robbed of our names, robbed of our language. We lost our religion, our culture, our God. And many of us, by the way we act, even lost our minds. Your thoughts?
Absolute truth. And I see the remnants of it to this very day, that people who are quite simply unanchored and crazy. I deal with a lot of, I've said this for years, that the single greatest disease affecting Black folk is not heart disease, it's not diabetes, it's not high cholesterol, it's not obesity, it's mental illness. they behave and act in a way that is, in many times, inexplicable.
Definitely. Next one. The youth, our key to liberation. The legacy we leave them must open doors, not dig graves.
I mean, the future belongs to the youth. The problem that we have, quite simply, is that we're not, within our community, we're not preparing the youth in the proper way, not in mass. You have pockets of them being prepared, but you would hope that you would get to a point where the vast majority of them are prepared. And the only way that you can prepare them is by controlling their intellectual diet, controlling what they consume. And by doing that, you're going to be able to, in many ways, carve out a lot of the BS that happens to our people. So, books and bottles. That's any nation that wants to liberate itself or improve itself. Put your resources behind books, meaning education, and bottles. Have some babies that you pour that education into.
You know, one thing that stood out to me when he says that we leave them must open doors, not dig graves.
Mm-hmm.
And that I was like, oh wow. You know, because what we put in them will decide whether they're going to be able to walk through a door or they're going to be digging graves, or graves will be dug for them because of the behavior, because the intellectual knowledge that needs to be there is not there.
Yeah, we talk about this so often, the impact of racism and discrimination and all of those different things. But I think that a part of what we really need to be looking at as well is the choices that we make, the values that we have, what are our priorities, and what have you. So you have a lot of responsibility in regards to setting the stage and the environment for your success. And the decision to not do that is a decision to fail. Those who fail to plan to fail.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Next one. Liberation is a science, not a slogan.
Oh, most certainly. Most certainly. Malcolm said it this way. He said, if you see somebody that is doing something that you think you're doing and they're getting better results than you, well, they're doing something that you're not doing. Liberation and revolutionary thought is as much as science as chemistry, as physics, and what have you. We have to divorce ourselves from the idea of simple emotionalism, where you can get together and you can sing Kumbaya, you can shout Black Power, you can do whatever you want to do, and that's a movement. That's not a movement. And the truth of the matter is that so much of the preparation and the execution of a revolutionary struggle is done in private. It's not sexy. It's not fun. You're going to have to get up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning for years and work if you want even a decent chance in making it in this world. So it is definitely a science and not a slogan.
Definitely. All right, and our last one for tonight. Courage is the price of admission for freedom.
Certainly. As I talked about earlier, the idea of being prepared, getting your content together, but also having the courage to utilize that as it's an Excalibur sword, working for the liberation of your people. Without courage, you'll never be free.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. 1000%. Any closing comments, Doc?
Just happy that you contacted me and we got on and we did this right here. I like this. I like Khalid. Love Khalid. And we need to be looking at more of our luminaries like this. So people will know who they are. People should know who Paul Robeson is. People should know Medgar Evers beyond a mere passing frame. They should know Nanny Prosser. They should know, the Stonewall Rebellion. There's so much that we can cover that, I'm just happy and feel fortunate that I was able to come on here at this moment and work with you and uplift our people.
Definitely, definitely, most definitely. Appreciate you, Doc. And the thing, and I know you say you don't see it as a sacrifice, but we as Black people here in America, we have become so comfortable as oppressed, quote unquote, oppressed people, and we live in a world that everything is just a microwave society. Everything is just push button. Do this, do. Oh, I ain't got to go nowhere. But in order to be great at anything that we're going to do, we're going to have to sacrifice. When you're up at 4 a.m., that's sacrificing sleep. That's sacrificing things that, taking extra time to just breathe a little. And we have to be, as a people, up and ready and able to make sacrifices. And I know definitely for me, when I sit back and remember as a child, like what I wanted to do in life, what I planned for my life, there was no such thing of fighting for the rights of our people. That was nowhere on my list. That wasn't even nowhere in my thinking. But then once I got connected to this knowledge, then I had to make deviations of where I wanted to go and the life that I wanted to live. I had to make sacrifices. I got in the military and I got used to the bang, 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 QRF, quick reaction forces. I got used to that and I found myself liking that type of thing. When it was time for me to get out of the military and I was looking, well, where can I go now? What am I going to do now? What line of work? And I said, well, I can go. I'll join the FBI. I'll join the Secret Service. I'll join this. Because of the bang, bang, bang that I liked, that I enjoyed from the military. But then you could not be a member of the Nation of Islam and in the FBI or in the Secret Service or in any of these police type agencies. And I said, damn. I had to give it up. I had to give it up. Sacrifice. I put 30,000 miles on my car in 6 months, traveling up and down the highways, trying to bring our people. Sacrifices. We are a living people that sacrifices was made for us, the generation that came prior before us. And when I look at our, as they call them today, YNs, and as I said before, this is not something that we can arrest our way out of. We have to father our way out of this problem. So that means fathers talking to mothers who the mothers may get on your goddamn nerve. that they may have pissed you off to the highest level of pistivity. But your son, your daughter needs you. And we have to make sacrifices. As we close, let us remember Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad did not live a life of comfort. He lived a life of consequence. He did not bend to pressure. He did not dilute his message. He did not trade truth for acceptance. If we leave here tonight entertained but unchanged, then we have failed him. But if we leave here disciplined, organized, and committed, then we honor him, not with words, but with work. The ancestors do not ask us to be perfect. They ask us to be courageous. They ask us to be clear. And they ask us to continue. May the spirit of Dr. Khalid sharpen our tongue, strengthen our spines, and steady our steps as we walk toward liberation. Forever, forever, we are Black first. We thank all of you for coming. We thank you for listening. We thank you for sharing. And we ask you to like and share this message. And don't forget that you can find us on Audible, Spotify, Prime Music. You will find us under The Scholar and the Strategist. You can check us out there always. We love y'all. Doc, you want to add anything else before we sign off?
Love you all. Look forward to our next time together.
Yes,
Peace.
sir. Peace. So you better get the message and get it straight. You're going to need some bridge work.